Testing. Testing. Okay, now it's working. Hello. No clue why it defaulted to default, which was nothing. It defaulted to nothing. But now it's working. Hey, Snowtwig. How's it going? I just started the stream. Had some audio issues that cleaned up almost immediately because it decided to default to nothing. So, how are you doing? I hope you're doing okay. It has been quite a week since I last saw you guys, but I'm pretty stoked that I managed to make it 2 weeks in a row. I think this might actually be my 3rd week in a row. So streaming is definitely happening and is becoming slightly more consistent, and I hope to keep that up. Because even though I'm not going to say I feel great, I don't feel bad, but I'm tired. Very eepy, going to go to sleep. That sounds like a good idea. I appreciate you hopping in to say hi. And I'm tired. I'm very tired. I'm turning the music down. I'm very tired. Hopefully the music's still loud enough that you can kind of hear it. Thank you. This was all done by Darkvolt, who has done some very, very cool. What the heck is this? Oh, who has done some very cool fan art, and I am eternally grateful because I'm just a little guy, and so fan art is a strange thing to have. But yeah, the last week has been very tiring, and hopefully things will be getting better soon. Yeah, Darkvolt's awesome. I want to be Darkvolt when I grow up. But beyond that, yeah, I want to have art like Darkvolt, art like the Volt. But yeah, I think I mentioned this in chat, and I think I probably gushed about it on the last stream too, because I'm pretty sure it happened before the last stream. But I got this huge commission from a local game store that was like, hey, if we give you the minis that you want to kind of fill out your roster, can you paint for us a display/rental army for our game store? Like a full Space Wolf, 2,000 points of Space Wolves army. And I went, I like free stuff, and I like having chances to show off my painting skills and advertise. This might have been a mistake, because even though they were very explicitly like, do not rush, take your time, there is no timeline on this, I decided that for that to mean I need to get this done as soon as possible, because it is a prime chance for me to go ahead and do that thing where I advertise, because they're going to be in a display case, and that means people are going to see my stuff, right? And so it's like, I gotta do this. And it turned out to be like the starter army box that came out when the Space Wolves got their refresh, a bunch of characters, and a combat patrol. So I'm going to try and pick this up and not cause an international disaster. But over the last week, I have assembled, and then primed, and then base coated and highlighted all of this. You can't even see all of it. That's how much there is. Let me pull back the camera a little bit. Let me move this over here, and let me pull back the camera. Wow, it really does feel like it just keeps going, doesn't it? So yeah, I think that's 30 of the main infantry, like 10 regular intercessors, which I don't remember their name, and then 20 assault intercessors, which are like the blood claws, and then 3 of their elite wolfen people, and then 5 terminators, and then 5 of their elite wolfens, like, I can't remember their names, the wolfens, and then 2 of the captain, two of the captain, and then Arjak Rockfist with his flail or flingy hammer, and then a wolf priest, which might be the most badass Warhammer model I've ever seen. Because I mean, look at this guy; he's just an absolute baller. What a cool looking dude! He's got on like a wolf skull head, and he's got a cool coat. And then Ragnar Blackmane, who, if I recall right, was responsible for chopping off Gazkul Thraka's head. And then Bjorn the Fell-Handed, which was part of a bigger, or like a dreadnought box that could be built like 8 different ways. So all of these characters are neat. Oh yeah, and to top it all off, the one that I'm going to be working on most tonight, Logan Grimnar, who is a big, like, centerpiece model. So this is what I've got done with him so far. And I'm going to continue... The hair actually turned out really freaking good. I'm going to continue working on these guys tonight. And I may be a little bit low energy, which is fine, because you're about to go to bed anyway. But, I may be a little low energy, but that's just because I am extremely tired. Like I said, I assembled all of this. And on top of that, I finished a completely other model. This is not the box they came in. This is the box for the Fallen Divinity, which is the model that I posted a little while ago, because I finished that as well. And on top of that, I also assembled the 10 Scouts and the 6 Blade Guard veterans that I got as part of this deal. Oh yeah, and gosh, I've got so much stuff to show you guys. But yeah, so the Fallen Divinity model is the most expensive model I think I've painted in terms of how much I'm getting paid for it. So I wanted to do a really good job, and so I decided to make that go from just a statement to being the thing I do, and I painted it up really, really well. At least I like to think I did. I think history will vindicate me. But I'm gonna have to pull this out very carefully because it's expensive and it's resin, which means it's very, very fragile. And I've wrapped it to try and prevent it from jostling in the box it's in. So I'm gonna put this somewhere else. Down here will be good. And so this is the end result of the Fallen Divinity model that I was painting. I assembled it last week, I think. No, I assembled it 2 weeks ago, and I began painting it last week. So this is what the lady looks like, and the more I look at it, the more proud I am of it as a model, because I think I did a darn good job. And I think it's really hard to be like, no, you didn't do a darn good job, Ben Repaints. I think I did a darn good job. Like, it's obviously not identical to the box art, but I think, given my skill set, I did a darn good job. And so, I'm pretty darn happy with this. I love how the entire thing came out. I love how the wings came out. I love how the skin came out. The skin came out real nice. I love how the doggos came out because I was worried they were going to be like under highlighted and under detailed. Now I just worry, in all honesty, that the glue is not going to settle right and they're going to fall off, which means I probably should have pinned them, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, like, look at the weathering on the stone. I think I even did a good job on that. So yeah, I'm just pretty darn happy with this model and how it turned out. I think the highlighting came out really nice. I think the model came out really nice. I think it's a good model and I did a good job. So hopefully the client will also be happy with it, and they will believe it was worth the exorbitant amount of money that they agreed to pay me, because I think I told the story, but the way I've been kind of pricing my stuff has been, in my opinion, very fair. But for the person who was like the liaison, I've been kind of cutting him a discount because he's basically been commissioning me on almost retainer. And so, like, he had regular giants that were just $50 plastic models, and when he started being like, I've got this Artisan Series giants, and they're a little bit more valuable, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to charge you more because they charged you more. It's worth the same amount to me because it's the same size. And he was like, oh, that's amazing, thank you. And I forgot to tell him about this for this other guy who wanted the Artisan Series done. And so, no, that guy paid full price. And apparently he didn't even blink. He was just like, done. And I found out later that a big reason why he was so gung-ho about just, like, agreeing to that was because he didn't want to put the model together since it was, like, fragile resin. And so he was really scared about damaging it. So the fact that I put it together was apparently worth the cost of admission. So that made me happy, that I made him happy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this guy. And one of the things I want to work on right now, honestly, is like his face and his necklace. And then possibly go back and like work on their fur, and then work my way up from there. I'm not going to be putting the same level of detail on this guy because they asked for tabletop ready. And I'm already going way harder than tabletop ready because I have this problem where I have no chill. And it's readily visible by how much work I'm already putting into this. But it's like, I want it to look good, and I want this to be the thing that people gravitate towards in the shelf on the display case when they go to look at the minis and the models in the display case. So that is specifically my goal, to have models that people gravitate towards, like, oh my god, those look amazing, and then they'll see that it's my stuff, and then they'll be like, I want my stuff to look amazing, I want Benry Paints to paint my stuff, and then I can be like, yes, please, give me money, for I will paint small figures, and I will be happy, and so will you, because your small figures are going to look fantastic at an affordable price. The end. But that's my story, and that's kind of where I'm going right now with this. So, like I said, I'm actually not going super hard on this guy. I'm not going to go ahead and do, like, individual shades and whatnot. Why is everything so far away? Oh, it is on telephoto, but it's still very far away. Oh, that explains it. So we're going to zoom in to about 200%. And that should be good enough. And that looks better. So yeah, my goal with this is to make it look good without having to make it look great. I hope that makes sense, because I could go really ham on this. I actually did go really ham on it the first time I painted it for a friend, just because it was a model that I was like, man, I want to paint this model, but I don't want to buy this model. And so the fact that he was just like, I'll let you paint this model if you let me purchase Captain Lysander for you. And I was like, wait a minute, you're letting me paint this model and you're giving me Captain Lysander? What's the catch here? Because I felt like I won on both occasions there. Okay, so I used a little bit of that. I actually don't like how that looks, because I'm trying to use a little bit of speed paint right now on his face, and unfortunately, because of how small his head is, it's not really showing up. So I think I'm going to forego that. And what I'm going to do instead is watch the camera be very blurry for some reason. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and probably zoom back out, honestly. I think I might have zoomed in too far. We're going to zoom out to about 120, and that should be good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to start working on down here. And the good news is because of what it is, we're just going to put you right there, buddy. Take a nap. Is I can use like a dark color and kind of work my way up from that dark color. Which again, might be going at it too hard, because for tabletop, all you really need to do is a base coat, a wash to give it some depth, and then like a dry brush or a highlight to give it some dry brushed highlights. Hey Dark Volt, we were just talking about how cool you were. I'm sorry that you missed me showing off the Fallen Divinity, but that model is way too fragile for me to want to take out of the box again. So I'm not going to do that. Well, you made all that cool key art for me. Instead, I'm working on this secondary Logan Grimnar that's part of the Space Wolves box. They were like, hey, do this for us and we'll give you minis. And I was like, all I heard was you'll give me minis and I get to paint more. So I'm just working on this guy now and potentially more later. But good to see you again. I'm definitely making more of a concerted effort to be online consistently, because I miss being online consistently and like hanging out and chatting. I'm exceptionally tired this week because, as Snowtwig already knows, if Snowtwig is still here, I kind of went ham on painting things and assembling things. So my energy levels are going to be a little lower than they've been. Paint me wolves, I give you minis. Morph? Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much all. When in all seriousness, when I saw that message, all I saw is, we'll give you this chance to market yourself and we'll pay you for it. Because it's just like, bruh, you can't be serious. And then they were serious, and I was like, bruh? So I just was making weird borfing noises as they were saying all these cool things. So my plan right now is to just kind of, because this is not meant to be like a display level model, my plan right now is to paint this as, I don't want to say haphazardly, but taking as many shortcuts as I feel is acceptable, and then seeing how that turns out, and working far less hard on like every other model in this box. Because I feel like that's fair. Because if this is the guy that I don't want to screw up. I want this guy to be so pretty that people are like, holy crap, and then I can be like, ho ho ho, this isn't even my final form. This guy I did casually while taking a million bazillion shortcuts. And they can be like, oh my goodness, Ben Repaints can paint better than this? And I can be like, I sure hope so, or else I've talked a big game. And then they pay me to paint their minis, and they're like, oh yeah, Ben Repaints can paint better than this. Because yeah, from what I understand, this is not meant to be a display model. I know I've said this a lot, but it's literally meant to be, the guy bought it because he thought they were cool, and felt bad that he never got around to painting it. So he's giving them to me to paint, and to also be a model or an army for people who are interested in playing Space Wolves to just kind of grab and play with, and then decide whether or not they actually want to play Space Wolves. So that's all this is. And so he was just like, yeah, I'll do tabletop grade paints. And I'm like, I heard the words you said, but my brain can't do that anymore. It's become stupid. Oh, actually, before I go on, check this out. Because I don't think you've seen all of the Space Wolves, Mr. Darkbolt. Also, I'm really proud of how these guys came out, because they were just kind of airbrushed. And I airbrushed like a dark streak on their backs, and then I hit them with a bunch of thinned down speed paints. And I think the color gradients on both of them, A, are different enough that they look like two different wolves, and B, still have a lot of color depth to them. I'm going to dry brush them a little later, but I like how those guys came out. But okay, so I'm going to need to zoom out. I'm actually going to zoom out for this. But I'm so just like amazed at how much this is. Because I have finished assembling all of the Space Wolves, and I have primed them, and I have given them a little bit of a base, and I have hit them with a base coat and then a highlight coat on the airbrush. This is all the Space Wolves I have done. And if you give me a moment, and yes, that's good. That's a good plan. I'm gonna do that. This is all the Space Wolves. This is all the Space Wolves I've done that I've assembled over the last 7 days. This is all of them. There's 20 assault style intercessors, blood claws. There's 10 gray hunters, which are like the regular intercessors. There's 3 of these wolf guard, which are freaking awesome. There's 5 of the wolf terminators, which again I want to emphasize. Like, just look at whoa, he jumped. Look at how fucking cool this guy is. Tell me this isn't like the greatest model you've ever seen, because he's like the greatest model I've ever seen. He was so great that he jumped out of my hands because he needed to fight and kill. And then, excuse me, gentlemen, like this guy, I don't know what's going on with him, but he looks like he's having a bad day and he's about to make it everyone else's problem. Because it's like, okay, you get past the minigun, then what? Then he pops your head like a cantaloupe with his giant power claw. But yeah, then I've got these guys who are the Wolfen, which, I mean, you know more about Warhammer than I do. You know the Wolfen. And I always thought they were kind of silly until I saw them to scale, and now I kind of love them. And then I've got these 2 battle captains back here. And then I've got Arjak Rockfist, who I specifically made sure to throw the hammer, because they have 2 of them. They have one where he's kind of bracing with the hammer, and they have one where he's yeeting the damn thing. And I love the yeeting the damn thing pose, so that's what I gave him. And then we've got this Wolf Priest, who is, again, just another freaking cool model. Like, I want to make him a chaplain for my army, because he's so cool. And I've got Ragnar Blackmane. Oh yeah, and the battle captains. By the way, look at these battle captains. GW does a really good job with making this pose super fucking cool. This guy's amazing. I love it. And then the other guy, he's even got the same pose. I gave him a different loadout though, so people can be like, I want to play this one. Again, just another really cool model. So I can't wait to finish basing these guys and getting snow on the bases and all that stuff. And then we've got my favorite model of the group, which I've said like 3 times. Look, it's Bjorn. It's Bjorn the Fell-Handed. He's got a big fucking claw that he's going to use to rip Magnus's head off. it's so good. And I don't know if you can see it in the light, but he's got some subtle shading going on, so I don't actually plan on doing a whole lot more to these guys beyond detail work. I think the base coat actually turned out a whole lot bluer than it did when I first looked at it, and I was like, I made these guys too gray. They look like 30K Space Wolves. And while they still kind of do, they do have just a hint of that blue, so I'm okay with that. Oh yeah, and on top of that, I have also assembled and primed please don't die. My Blade Guard veterans, who I'm extremely pleased I was able to get Imperial Fish shoulder pads 3D printed for all of them. Because, whoops, he just fell over. That was cute. Because they're gonna go with my captain from the Armageddon box. And then I'm not done yet. And then I've primed these guys. I haven't painted them yet. Oh no, they fell. I haven't painted them yet. I've primed them. I've primed the lads. I feel like a small child just bringing all of their toys out to company. To show, like, the new company that I've got all sorts of cool stuff. I've got the Scouts. And honestly, my favorite thing about the Scouts is that, like, they definitely call back to the old Scouts. Because, like, look at this guy. He's just the heavy bolter guy, all the way down to, like, the bare muscle arms. And I just think that's cool, because everyone else has sleeves on, except for Arnold Schwarzenegger here, who has the bare arms, because he's supposed to reference the old one. They even gave him, like, the doofy, like, heavy-jawed scowl, obviously in the new scale, but... So yeah, I'm extremely excited to eventually paint these guys once I finish. And I got one more thing, and this one might make some people mad, but I do not care. Because I realized that I have a Space Marine lieutenant in one of my armies that is supposed to be leading a group of 10 intercessors. Because I want him to farm lethals along with, like, the 40 bolter fire rounds that they're gonna get off. And I also realized that I wanted him to have a bolt rifle, and a power fist, and I don't have that one, and I didn't want to buy that one. So I still need to print the backpack for them, but I printed this one out. And so she's got a giant power fist, and she's got her bolter, and I don't know if you can really see it because of the lighting, but it's also a lady. So I made a lady Space Marine lieutenant who's going to lead together a whole ton of intercessors and shoot like 40 rounds. I have the old metal heavy bolter scout. When I manage to paint him eventually, along with my Primaire scout, I can do a comparison with the old plastic heavy bolter scout. Yeah, I love the old scouts. I want to buy a set of the old scouts because I love how squat they are. But yeah, I felt like, why not? I already have a Space Marine lieutenant. He's fine, but he's just got like a pistol and a power sword, and neither of those things scream Imperial Fists. So now she screams Imperial Fists. I also, much to my great joy, have her primed and ready to go. You're selling... Hey, Magic Donut, how's it going? Magic D-Nut, I'm sorry. I'm selling my 40k armies to buy a new one. I'm torn between 3 armies, but what would your top 3 if you had to pick new ones to play? Well, currently, right now, I'm building an Orc army, and I'm building a Guard army. And between the two of them, the Orc army is definitely further along. So if I were to pick a new army to play, it'd be Guard, because I'm very interested in the average person versus the horrifying things they have to face. And honestly, I can understand why people wouldn't want to get into Guard, especially because they're not very good right now. I would want to get into Emperor's Children just because I think the Emperor's Children are cool. I kind of want to get back into Leagues of Votann because Leagues of Votann are also cool. And I think the last one, I had Tau, so I'm not counting them. That's a toughie. I think for the last one, what would I go for the last one? That I have an Emperor's Children army. It's one of the ones you're selling. Okay, then go Death Guard. Go the opposite of Emperor's Children. Go stinky and slow and methodical, since you went with perfection and fast. Because, like, I think World Eaters would be a little too close to what they're doing. I like the Eldari Corsairs. I think they're super neat. So you could always go Eldari Corsairs if you wanted to do a special type of Eldari, if you want to do that. Other gun, the Tau, I think the Tau are cool. I kind of regret selling my Tau now that I know how to more effectively strip models. What other armies am I interested in? In Age of Sigmar, you play Nighthaunt. In Age of Sigmar, I wish to play Nighthaunt, but I don't have the time nor the money to get into Age of Sigmar right now. If I had to start new armies, what would they be? Excuse me, my apologies, I'm quite tired. But yeah, no, Leagues of Votann, they've kind of been a quiet crush of mine, because I love dwarves, I love the lore behind them, I love that they're merciless capitalists, I think it's great. Let me do some quick browsing real quick. What does the War Hams, the Hams of War, have? I should know this because of how much I play. I think Grey Knights are cool. I love Admech, even though they're dog water. So that's one you can go. I do have a small Custodes army. Chaos Demons, Chaos Knights, Chaos Space Marines, Death Guard Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, Red Corsairs. Red Corsairs could be a fun way to go because they don't really have a defined etc. Ooh, Gene Stealer cults. So yeah, I think mine would probably be Gene Stealer cults, Leagues of Votann, and Eldari Corsairs. Good time to start Orcs because of the hype and the new codex everyone's learning. Marines are always a good pick. Blood Angels, that is true. Maybe Knights. Yeah, these are all better answers than what I'm giving because I'm just kind of waffling. So I think Dark Volt has the right idea. Orcs are very neat and front-facing, and they have, especially right now, they seem to have a lot more versatile ways to murder you, which is good fun. My original idea was Alpha Legion, play them as loyalist chapters. Red Corsair, but the actual paid scheme, not the redacted version, where they wear their old armor, put an X on their pauldron, and hide their Jolly Roger until it's too late and they would ambush them. That is a really cool idea. Lore-wise, I think that's super heckin' neato, and I don't see why you shouldn't. Honestly, I think you should do what you want to do. I think my thing is I'm just more interested in doing Xenos because I don't have very many. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to focus a little in on painting good old Wolf Grandpa because I've done like no painting since this stream started and I feel kind of bad. And I also know, once again, I'm going way too hard on the paint for what's supposed to be the way you're doing red courses, maybe pre-painted minis on eBay and put the red X on a real... I mean, you can do whatever you want. If that's the best way to get them, I'd go for it. That's something I've always kind of wanted to do as an eBay rescue army, where I'm just kind of working with what I'm getting. But every army I see that's an eBay rescue, it's always like, there are things about it that make me not want to buy it. And of course, it's a ton of money to kind of immediately dump in. And so I always hesitate at the last minute there. And actually, with how tiny his face is, I don't really need to get his eyes. He's so hooded. I don't know, do you guys think it's worth getting, oh my god, my brain just potatoed so hard. Do you guys think it's worth me trying to get Logan Grimnar's tiny little eyes? I know I'm kind of swaying the vote here, but he's got such tiny eyes. Best, cheapest, no lore, yeah. Because, give it a shot. I don't know if I can, because I actually don't think I have a, I don't think I have a brush thin enough to do it, because I know for a fact this one ain't, and this is kind of my thinnest brush. Admittedly, I can't really ruin this model, because I'm already doing far and away more than I was recommended to do by the person who set up the commission for me. I tend not to do icing, especially for a non-display mini. That is true. I mean, technically he is a display mini, but at the same time he's not a display mini, because he's going to go on a shelf. But at the same time, he's going to go on a shelf to be an army rental. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna here's what I'm gonna do. 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 You guys may not be able to see this, and I'm sorry. But here's what I'm gonna do. Okay, all things considered, that could have gone much worse. And meanwhile, that other eye can just go on perfectly. Oh my god, I got it. I don't know if you can see it, but I got it. I don't know how I got it, but I got it. Unfortunately, now he just kind of looks nuts, and I think it's because I accidentally hit the eyelid on the first one. So, yeah, that's the other problem. It's like, okay, now paint his irises, and my thought is, are you insane? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ruin my paint job is what I'm going to do. Okay, I think you're going to have to excuse me for a minute because I really do have to hit some of these spots. Because his left eye now looks like he's having a vision, but not a good one. I did try and use some shade earlier, Dark Volt, and it didn't pool, like, at all. So I gave up, and that's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Okay, now his eyes look better, but that's about as much as I can do on them. And meanwhile, the rest of his face looks pretty good, but his lower lip is giving me agita, because I definitely tried to hit it with a thicker brush, and now he's kind of blue, because it just sloughed off his lip. So I'm going to make his lip magenta, and then I'm going to make his lip not magenta. How about that? How about that? How about we do some of that? Also, the more I look at his lower lip, the funnier it gets, because it's literally just like a frowny face, and that's very silly. Ah, crap. There we go. The frowny face lip is absolutely sending me, because it's very silly. It's kind of Jack Blackish looking. Okay. And so there we go. And now I think that's pretty good. I think I can be happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the skull and the fangs he's got on his necklace. Now honestly, because this is a character model, I will admit that I am taking things a little too far. Because again, this is meant to be something people pick up and play with regularly. So I am going to do the thing where I spray the crap out of it with a varnish. But I'm also going to do the thing where I don't remember where I was going with that, I'm sorry. I'm not going to work as hard on this as I would on a display model, because I could be going so much harder. And it's okay that I don't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint each of these little toesies, because I think that's funny. Okay. And Darkwood, I saw what you said about making it darker to make it look more moody. And I just wish that I had a better working like ink or something that I could have put in there. Because I don't have one. I tried to use like a flesh tone and it just kind of looked crappy, so I had to undo it. It does not need to be ink. That is true, I guess. So what makes inks so much better? I don't know, because I don't know enough about like non-acrylic paints. Is it that they have a thinner pigmentation so they tend to run better? Because that's, or am I thinking of oil washes? Because I know oil washes do that capillary action, and that always looks cool. But I'm scared of messing with spirits, like ethyl spirits or whatever you want to call them, because I don't know them well enough, and I'm afraid I'm gonna like put the brush in my mouth. But yeah, I have like a flesh tone speed paint, and it wasn't doing what I was wanting it to do, which was go into like the crevices. Just because his face is so damn tiny. I feel like Logan Grimnar actually has a tiny face for a Space Marine. It feels smaller than it should, because so much of it is like his hair and shit. Okay. Oh, there's the other one. Of course, I could be wrong, but I don't remember. Now, one thing I am going to have to do that I'm honestly not looking forward to is I'm going to have to paint all of these. Though, that shouldn't be too bad. I think I can get away with a darker blue and work my way up to like a bright metal. Or, since this is not a character model that I'm entering in a competition, I could just do a metal. Inks flow into the crevice. They're transparent except for white. You can thin your acrylic paints with the same shade of ink to not lose pigmentation. That's pretty cool. I'll have to remember that. That's what it's there for. Because I keep grabbing a bottle of white acrylic ink when I'm at like the craft store, and then I realize I don't need a bottle of white acrylic ink right now, and I set it back down. But I feel like with how much priming I do in white, like how much zenithal priming I do in white, it would make sense for me to go ahead and buy white acrylic ink, especially since I do it so much through the airbrush. And once again, Master Dark Volt, I will ask you, do you think it would, especially since you've seen my paint jobs and the like, do you think it would be worth the money to go ahead and buy white acrylic ink for my zenithal prime jobs that I do on my minis? I have to sneeze. They're basically proto speed paints. Okay, that's really cool. So I'll have to remember that. I sneezed and now my sinuses have knocked loose. So I hope you guys are ready for the amount of post nasal drip that is going to populate the mic from now on. So yeah, I don't want to say that I stopped a major attack on the city that I work for, because it wasn't major, but I definitely noticed it and alerted the others about it pretty quickly, and that allowed us to nip it in the bud. Buying a bottle of ink is going to be cheaper than buying a bottle of speed paint. That is true. I think the one I was looking at was like $6 or $7, possibly a little more. It wasn't backbreakingly expensive. It was just like, I don't need this right now, and so I just keep putting it back. And I think next time I go, I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up, because I feel like I am severely limiting my game by not painting stuff, or not zenithal priming stuff with white ink. I feel like I could be doing so much more and doing so much better with that. But yeah, today there was a attempt at an attack via malware on our city via email, and it was actually from like the friggin' State Department. And that was really weird, because I guess someone in the State Department got their stuff compromised, and so they were sending out this attachment, and we kept getting tickets for it, and I was the first one to notice, so I immediately like left the thing I was supposed to be doing and ran back down to the office to tell my supervisor, hey, we've gotten like 20 tickets for this same email. We probably ought to lock shit down. And so we let the people in charge know, and we started coordinating with the other department that was receiving the emails, and we got it figured out and contained, all within about 30 minutes of discovery, which I'm gonna say is pretty darn good. Oh no, I forgot about his other Tootsies right here. So yeah, that's not the only reason why I'm tired, but that took a lot out of me, because I wasn't the one marshalling it, but I was definitely the one like frantically trying to get everything squared away while the supervisor marshaled everyone. And yeah, I also haven't been sleeping well. I think the not sleeping well is affecting me more than the fending off a potential data breach. But who knows? I think also the weather constantly changing is really futzing with my sinuses, because I have found out that it really is a barometric pressure thing. I was fine for a long time, and then suddenly I wasn't fine. And at first we thought it was because of the volcanic ash that was coming down from Canada, And then my wife was like, it's gonna rain a little later. And then it did, and then suddenly I felt better. So it was like, oh, you were just having a reaction to the fact that it was gonna rain. And it's like, I am a strong person. I am not a strong person. But, you know, things like that happen. So that's the story of why I feel like dog water. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not completely out of it, but I am very tired, and it's starting to peek through now that I'm sitting and relaxing and chilling and vibing. So I guess, yay, I'm finally relaxed enough to do that, but also, I'm sorry that what I'm talking about is just absolute fucking gibberish. Okay, so yeah, all I'm really doing is creating some layers, and I'm not really working that hard on it. I'm not really trying that hard. I just want big, bold colors on the parts that I know are going to have to be, like, teeth colored. So that's what I got. And I keep missing parts of the teeth and the bone that are teeth and bone. And I'm trying to hit those. Like him pretty little painted nails. There we go. And so now I got some, whatchamacallits. Okay. And it looks like I got all of them. I didn't miss any this time. So now him fangs and his whatnots are all done. So we're going to set him down. And what I'm actually going to do, you're going to take a nap, Mr. Logan. I think I'm going to color block stuff in. So all of the stuff that's supposed to eventually be like silver metal, I'm going to go ahead and do in black. And all the stuff that's going to be in gold, I'm going to go ahead and do in brown. Hopefully what that'll do is that'll remind me later that I've color-coded these for metallics. And I think that will both kind of speed up my painting because it'll prevent me from fixating on it and trying to do non-metallic metal on a model I'm not getting paid to do non-metallic metal stuff on. But at the same time, it'll make it seem like progress is happening. What would be great progress now is if this dropper bottle would give me some black ink, but it is decided to choose violence, and it is not giving me any black ink. Not ink, acrylic paint. Oh, never mind, it decided to give me way too much, and now it just gave me a huge glob of it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okay. So I guess I'm just going to use as much of this as I need, and then put the rest of it back as best as I can. Try not to make a huge mess on this model, because I really don't want to have to undo any messes now that he's been dry brushed, so I've got to be pretty delicate here. Okay. This might be too small a brush for what I'm doing. I don't need this kind of finesse, he says as he grabs a sledgehammer. So I've got this Winsor & Newton basing brush that used to not be a basing brush. This used to be a number 2. And I finally talked with someone who has been in the hobby far longer than me, but has had the same like passion for painting. And it turns out that he's still got a Winsor & Newton that's like 7 years old, that he purports manages to hold just as nice a point as it had when he first got it. And all I can think of is that I've been through like 3 to 5 Winsor & Newton brushes since I started painting with them that many years ago. And so it's just like, how on God's green earth are you keeping your Winsor & Newton brushes so well maintained? Because I was kind of under the impression that they die very quickly. Left something in the showcase if I want to look? Fuck yeah, I want to look. I will look in a second once I finish doing this very dainty work of trying not to go too close to the line. Yeah, sorry, just give me a second. I'm anxious. I'm anxious because I'm so good at what I do that I don't understand how, and it gives me the anxiety. It's like, Ben Repaints, how are you so good at this? And the answer is, I don't know. I say right before I screw it up. Okay, I can't reach that from here. Let's see what you got for me. Logan, you can stand right there. What have you done? What have you done in the showcase? Oh my god, look at that terrain! One way you use ink is for your alien cactus terrain. First you make a mix of blue and red ink, slop them all over unprimed white toilet paper and wood glue mache, which will pick up textures. I switch to my acrylics and do a base of red and blue to mix green for the body and red for the spikes. Try and leak the purple ink base coat, the shadows and transition areas. See, that's really cool for many reasons. But one of the biggest things about it is further reinforcement that one thing I need to start doing is using like a purple primer. Okay. Booms. Because purple is such a good shadow color and it works so well, and people like you keep doing me cool stuff with the purple primer that just works. I also love the old school terrain that you've got, like the marbles with the spikes. It's just such a good look. It looks so alien and it looks so exotic and it looks so good. Thank you very much for showing those off, because that was a fun look. And that taught me stuff, because you always teach me stuff and I always appreciate it, because I'm not the best at what I do. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just a little guy. And the only way I can learn to be a big guy is by watching other big guys do really cool things. And you're definitely a big guy. So being able to learn from the big guys is how I be less of a little guy. Can you tell that I'm tired? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I know that my cat rubbed up against my face, and now I've got cat hair right underneath my nose, and it keeps itching, and I do not like it. Okay, so let's see if once again I can do this without making a total ass of myself. Because this brush is very beat up, and the last thing I really want to do is create a problem because I don't know how to control the tip of the brush. Though I will say, and this is terrible teaching advice, guys. One of the ways that I learned how to have better brush control and how to just in general do things, like just in general, like knife work and like doing this and whatnot, is I purposely have shit equipment. And I don't want to say like I go out and buy the worst equipment. I just tend to buy what I can afford and use it until it is beyond broken. And what that does is it teaches me how to compensate for the fact that the equipment is bad. Like, I'll learn the fundamentals and I'll see what people are doing and how they're doing it, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool, I wish I could do that. And then I try and emulate it as best I can, and 9 times out of 10 it comes out looking like fucking dog water. But because it's mainly because I have the bad tool. And so I keep adjusting and tweaking and refining my technique until, you know, I've done it enough times that it doesn't look like fucking dog water, and instead it just looks kind of mediocre. And then I get some nice equipment, and then I try that same kind of control, and suddenly it looks amazing, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not bad at this? I'm actually a big guy when it comes to doing this thing? And it's because I learned a lot of the control with bad equipment, and that meant once I got good equipment, I didn't have to worry so much about the control, because I already had that skill kind of trained. And I'm not going to say that's going to work for everyone, and it requires a certain amount of like actual stubbornness, because I could have just learned how to do it right with the good equipment, but instead my brain was like, no, you're going to use what you've got because you can't afford anything better. So instead of just spending an extra few dollars and ponying that up, you're just going to deal with hours of punishment and frustration. But it worked for me. And so, while by no means am I like a golden demon level painter or anything like that, I feel like my skill set's pretty darn good, all things considered. I experimented with just using foam balls as a base and using aluminum foil as a base, and both work great. And to make it look organic and plant-like, I use smaller foam balls with pellets all over the surface.
along with strands of jute string. I don't know what jute string is, but that's cool. At the same time, the plant, I added all the wooden shavings from sharpened skewers from the spikes. Yes. And it definitely gives it a lot of texture. And for those who don't know, you want to have a lot of texture in your models because it gives your eyes something to look at. Because if everything is just flat, then it has nothing to look at. And that's what makes things interesting. Like, this guy's cape could be not textured, but because it's textured, it's fun to look at. And so your eyes look at it and they go, ooh, there's a lot of stuff to take in here. And that's what you want with your minis, is you want there to be a lot of stuff to take in, but there's also that, like, happy medium where you don't want it to be too noisy, because when a mini's design gets too noisy, then your eyes kind of get lazy and unfocused, because they don't want to try and take in all of that sensory data. So that's kind of the fun of figuring it out. Some people do want their minis to be loud and noisy and have, like, a very jumbled silhouette, and that's fine. They can like it the way they want to like it. But in general, you want your designs to have clean silhouettes. That is my understanding. And I think that's a pretty good understanding. Because that's how you get iconic characters. Because if you look at iconic characters, they always have a silhouette that you can identify with very little effort. Like, Mickey Mouse is a very iconic silhouette. The two ears and the head. And, you know, Sonic the Hot Dog. Also a very iconic silhouette. Mario, you can look at all of those characters and they all have a silhouette that you could pick out even if you had no other details to work with, because their shapes are just so clean and so recognizable, right? I don't know where I was going with that. I just know I was talking. And I also know that Logan keeps wanting to, like, run off to the upper side of the screen. I don't know why. Other than just I moved the camera and now it's making it hard for me to figure out where to orient the model. But I'm trying. Overall, he's turning out pretty darn good, I think. And all I'm really doing is blocking in all of this black. And same going back to that color theory thing I was just talking about in silhouettes. Because it's not just one monotone color, it's definitely breaking him up a bit and giving your eyes more to look at, right? And I think that's neato completo skeeto. Okay, I'm probably not even going to put this degree of detail in on the regular troops. I feel like Logan is a special case because he's a centerpiece model, so I do feel like it's worth going the extra mile to make Logan Grimnar look good. And I'm pretty sure you guys would agree with me that making the lead guy of the Space Wolves look good is kind of important. You know, it'd be like doing a quick job on Mortarion. You wouldn't want to do a quick job on Mortarion. Mortarion is too cool a model, and people are going to want to play as him, and all that fun stuff, right? Okay, and so there we go. We've got a lot more black on him, and it's definitely doing a much better job of making him visually interesting. Matter of fact, let's get more black on this. Let's go all the way with this, because this is eventually going to get really brightened up, because he's going to have a molten axe, which means all of the parts of it are going to get these really cool colors in them. And those are what's going to... I probably should have actually gone white with this, because I think I wanted the base color to be yellow, so that way it would look bright and smoldering. Instead, I have gone the opposite way to the color that yellow does not go on very well, which is black. So one thing to remember is that yellow has a very thin pigmentation, not dense, so it's not a very pigment-dense color, and that means that it does not go over dark colors well because it's semi-translucent. And so in general, when you paint a yellow or a color like an orange, you don't want to put it over a dark background. You want to build your base coat up to something else. Okay, I think that's going to be gold and red and gold again. So that's what that's going to be. I think everything else on here, I think I've got all of the black painted on him that needs to be painted. So what I think needs to happen now is I think I need to paint the toesies on the wolves. Because I have finally glued down the wolves, which I was very hesitant to do, because the wolves, there you are. The wolves, like, I didn't want to have to paint over them and paint around the base, but it's like, why not? It's already there. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be fine. So what I'm gonna do is switch paintbrushes again, and I'm gonna go back over to this white, or this ivory that I'm using. And what I'm actually going to do is, I'll be honest, I'm going to be a little sloppier on the wolves. Something I forgot to do earlier was I forgot to wash the feet. Because, like, I've hit everything else on the wolf with a wash, except for the toesies, the grippers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back over everything, and then go over it all with a brown wash, which will dirty up the claws and make them look a little more worn in. So I think that's going to be a good idea, and that'll compensate for the fact that I've already glued them down. Because there's always that argument of, like, whether or not you should paint in sub-assemblies. And for a lot of minis, it's kind of a waste of time, because they're not important enough and they're not detailed enough for people to really care. So unless you're doing a competition, you really don't need to paint in sub-assemblies. But at the same time, there's some minis with, you know, display models, like centerpiece models being the most obvious, where you do want to paint them in sub-assemblies. So in that case, it's usually better to, because these are going to be the centerpieces. You want these to look the best, right? And so that's kind of what I'm doing here. Because I could have just slapped Logan Grimnar on the base and been like, okay, we're going to try our best. And painted him about as well as I could. And instead, I'm taking the time to really, like, hit the individual models. Gum line. Gum line. Time to paint this poor lad's gum line. And once I kind of get, like, the basics down on these guys, I'll go ahead and glue Grimnar to the top of his base. And that'll make him look, that'll complete the whole thing. Because yeah, like with the last Grimnar that I did, I hand painted all the way up from like a dark blue up to the Space Wolves gray. And I'm pretty sure I've shown off that Logan Grimnar on stream because I'm really proud of that model. I think he turned out fantastic. The only thing that drives me nuts about him is I didn't dry fit him like I did these wolves this time around, so that they actually both fit on the base. So the Logan Grimnar I did, the wolves are slightly off center. But you know what? No one notices that except for me, so who cares? Except for me. And so yeah, there's that. Paint the nose of the wolves black. Don't know why, but it seems like a good idea. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to take Dartvolt's idea, and I'm going to go ahead and paint, or dry brush one of them with, I don't remember the colors that Dartvolt suggested, but I'm going to figure it out. It'll be fine. It'll all be fine. It'll be fine. Everything's going to be fine. I thought one was khaki and the other was some other color. Gray? I think Dartvolt said gray. So one of them's going to be khaki, and one of them's going to be dry brush gray. And something I was watching Philon Miniatures video on how to paint fur, and something that he mentioned is something I don't normally think about, but two different tones of color. Yeah. Is that, like, where fur is most densely collected, that's where it gets darkest. And where fur is least densely collected, like at the edges, is where it's the most transparent, because individual hairs are not particularly thick. And so what I probably want to do with these guys is do very light dry brushes. And something else he suggested, which I thought was kind of cool, was he recommended don't treat each individual piece of fur like it's its own shape, but treat like the entire joint or body part it's on like it's its own shape. So like a shoulder might look like a cylinder, if we're talking about shape language or whatever, or a half ball. And so when you shade them, when you highlight them to reflect that, you know what I mean? Okay, so those lads actually have a decent amount of color to them, which Darkvolt saw and appreciated. And what was I looking at? I'm going back to when you first mentioned something about it. I've gone back too far. One beige, one gray. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna use khaki as the beige. And I'm also gonna look to see what color is he supposed to be. Okay, oddly enough, the one I painted darker is supposed to be lighter, and the one I painted lighter is supposed to be darker. So we're gonna make this work one way or another. And it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll look great. I know what I'm doing. And what I can actually do is I can highlight it further with some of this ivory that I have. Okay, I don't know whose idea it was to give Kiryu like the hardest fucking song known to mankind for his battle music in Yokohama. But kudos to them for giving him one of the hardest fight songs in all of Yakuza in Yokohama. Because this song goes so unbelievably hard, and I'm so happy for them for doing that. Okay, I'm also going to scoop up like all of this black, because like I said, it just exploded in a huge orb of it onto my palette. And I'm kind of sad because this is a new palette. I finally switched it out. But left another image in the showcase. Very good. Once again, I'll have to give that a look in a second once I finish cleaning off this brush. There we go, the brush is clean. And now I need to clean off this part of the palette so it doesn't cake on and ruin the integrity of the palettes. Because that's one of the problems I have, is this shit will cake on, and then it'll ruin the cloth. Okay, there we go. Let's see what you got for me. Oh, look at them, not painting the eyes. Yeah, you just kind of shade over them. And shading over the eyes is just as effective if you do it correctly. And that's kind of the fun of it, because especially since they are just little guys, you're not really looking for them, especially like you said, they're not display models, who cares? They look fine, they look great. If you focus on the other parts that people are actually going to pay attention to, that's the more important part. So yeah, once again, awesome job. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing and helping us all become better painters. So now, I'm going to go ahead and take this khaki, and I'm going to dry brush the shit out of it. And I think, which one is the dark one? That's not the right one. Okay, so it looks like the bottom one is going to be the browner one. So what we're going to do is just very lightly, just little bits. And you can kind of see where it's already starting to form up on it. And that's fine. Because I'm being extremely light here, and I'm paying attention to like where the fur actually kind of goes. And I'm not trying to go very deep with this. I mean, you can see it, I'm just kind of like, blah, blah, blah. This is tedious, I skipped that, let me focus on the thing I enjoy instead. Which is the smart way to go about it. This is first and foremost a hobby. So like, if you're not enjoying yourself, then why are you here? If you're not enjoying yourself, then why aren't you changing how you approach the hobby so you can enjoy yourself, right? Because that's always been kind of my thing, especially as I've gotten deeper into it and seeing how people get with the hobby. It's like, are you actually having any fun? And I feel bad for people who are not, because they're very clearly not. They're just now miserable and trying to make everyone else miserable. And it's just like, man, I hope you have fun someday. In a way that doesn't make you so mean-spirited to other people. Okay. Okay. So I think I might have gone a little too bright and contrasty with these colors because my lack of color theory is starting to show. So what I'm probably going to do is knock this back down Or I'll just stop and take a look at it. But yeah, that's how that turned out. And now onto the gray. This one's gonna get the gray. So I'm gonna knock the paint off of that, shake it out, move this and try not to knock it over. I'm gonna let that dry for a little while because that didn't take it very well. So now, I still like how I managed to paint Gabriel Angela's face with the scarred wound. Yeah, like I said, it looks pretty darn good. I don't remember which one's Gabriel Angelos. He's the Blood Raven. Which I think I just walked right by him. Yep, there he is. Yeah, you can see it, the cheek. I like the purple discoloration that shows like blood has happened. And it's like healing. I think that's super neat. Okay, so what was I doing? Oh yeah, I need to go ahead and paint the highlights on his first. So I think the same thing. I'm gonna purposefully go in a little light, and as I go back out, it's going to allow me to kind of knock it all back down where it needs to be knocked back down. So hopefully me doing this right will allow that to happen. One other thing I need to get for myself is a dry palette, because I don't have one, and so that definitely causes there to be issues with my dry brushing. And there are plenty of people who will tell you. Actually, I have no idea how many people will tell you. Probably not very many, because I don't see a lot of people. But there are probably plenty of people who will tell you that my dry brushing is, as the experts call it, ass. And my technique is very unrefined, but that's okay. Another banger of a song. Infinite Wealth had a lot of bangers of songs that I didn't recognize as bangers until I played them and heard them in the game, and I was like, this song's a banger. And this is one of them, because I remember hearing it before I played Infinite Wealth and thinking, this song kind of sucks. And then I found out the context of this song, and then I was like, this song's kind of a banger. So there's always that. Context helps inform a lot of things, and people who don't attach context to music are wrong. But that's my opinion. Once again, that's my opinion. Never take anything I say as the gospel, guys. Everything I say is my opinion, and that's fine. It's not the immutable truth. Okay, and just a little bit of ivory, which will help really kind of knock some of this, especially at the fringes, which is what I'm trying to go for. And then what I can do with this is, like I said, my eventual plan is to knock it all back down, because it doesn't need to be this bright, and it's kind of contrasting weirdly with the rest of this guy's color on the fur and everything. And I think that just has to do with the temperature of the color that I'm using. And I think having a unifying color to bring it all together will definitely help with this. Hey, Shiny Mew Paints! Oh, you got ads. Well, that sucks. Hopefully you'll be back soon. Okay, so that's gonna look like that. I'm probably gonna have to go back over this, which is also fine. For a dry palette, scrap a cardboard, slowly accumulate dried paint blobs on it that leaves sufficient texture to help mix the paint on your dry brush. For a regular dry palette, give me 5-cent can of white tile from the hardware store. Both of those are true, Dark Volt, and actually, I do, if we're going to talk about it that way, I do own a dry palette. It is an abomination and an affront to mankind, because what it is it's like 4 folded up paper towels that I've been using as a quote-unquote dry palette for like 3 or 4 years. Did I vary the gobbo? No, unfortunately. I've been neck deep in commissions, so working on personal stuff has kind of really taken a back seat. So I have not done anything with the gobbo since you last asked me about the gobbo. Did I see the Gobbo? Yes, I saw your Gobbo, and I thought it was super neat. I posted reactions to it. Okay, so I think for now this will have to do, because what will happen is these highlights will really pop off when I go back over it with a shade. It was the first time you've done eyes like that? Well, then you largely succeeded, because I didn't see anything that made me go, wow, that's odd. So I think you did a good job. Okay. So Logan of the Grimnar is starting to come together. As you can see, his cape has a whole lot of texture. And his coloring, you're going to gloss farters from to give them like these are actual living eyebrows. I'm not sure what you're saying, but that's not a bad idea. If you're trying to give them that natural shine, that's definitely a way to go, and definitely a good way to go. So I would varnish. You're going to gloss varnish them. Yeah, that's a good way to go about it. Gloss varnish will help give them that natural sheen. So I would strongly encourage you to do so. Okay, I think that's going to have to be dry enough because we're about to go in gray. Sorry, autocorrect is being stupid. Autocorrect is always being stupid, and that's why AI is bad. AI is just very fancy autocorrect and contextual speech thingy. The autofill thing on your phone. Predictive speech, that's what it's called. Anything that's not but done with metal, you do with that matte varnish. Yep, that's a pretty good idea for most textures. I think matte varnish does exactly what it's supposed to do. Or just kind of dull everything down to an acceptable level. Okay, so this one is going to be getting a gray dry brush to try and knock it down. And I think this is going to be fine. And thankfully, once again, I'm using a cheap-ass makeup brush for this. Which, as you all know, is the single best dry brush you can get. Because this thing cost me literally pennies. And I think the only issue I'm going to have with this is that because I glued him to the thing, I can't take him off and really, like, deeply investigate some of these spots. So we're just going to have some heavy shadow, which I guess is going to be fine in its own right. We don't need him to have anything of that. Okay, so he is presenting his paw for me to varnish over. Okay, so I think these are going to look okay. And once again, I believe what's going to make them look better is when I go back over them, because I think I want to go back over them with the same brown wash that I did use, because I think the colors are just popping a smidge too much. And that's fine. That's fine for now. They're going to go back down, and that's just going to be part of the undertone of their coats. And what's going to make that real nice is it's just going to provide extra depth for the minis as I hit the camera with my head. Okay, so Mr. Logan, I think I need to finish giving you stuff. I just realized I did not paint the back part of your, whatchamacallit, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But yeah, I've been meaning to continue getting back to Look Outside, and I just haven't really had time to stream the game. Which makes me sad, because it's a good game. But I guess on the other side, part of the reason I haven't had time to stream is because I've been spending more time, A, painting, which is pretty neat, and B, visiting the game store. And I think that whole thing about, like, getting outside and socializing is probably very good for me. So I'm not going to feel too bad about it, but do know that Look Outside is not an exceptionally long game. And I think I'm about maybe a third done with it already. So once things start accelerating as I continue progressing with the characters and whatnot, I should be able to finish Look Outside in maybe 3 or 4 more streams, which is kind of the hope. The game store TM, right? Yeah, it's the one that I've been talking about. I'm very happy with that place, which I've also talked about, so I really don't need to talk about it too much again. It's just that it feels like the way I've described it to others is it feels like a place to hang out first and a store that's trying to sell me stuff a distant second or third. Whereas the other game stores I've been to in the area all feel like they're trying to sell me something, and the hangout is something that can happen after I've bought stuff from them. And I think QB actually put it best when she mentioned that at the other game stores, the first thing you see when you enter the game store is product. You know what I mean? They've got the shelves lined up, and you have to kind of find the game room. Whereas here, the first thing that you see are the 4 tables of people playing, and then off of that, you see tables that are set up for people to paint and socialize. So it's like that just feels more like the vibe that I want to go to right now in my life, because I'm less interested in buying new stuff and more interested in hanging out and socializing and getting to know people. Okay, so what's gonna happen now is I'm gonna switch over to the dark umber, a brown, so I can start kind of blocking in where I want the golds to be. And hopefully it will not fight me the same way that my black color did. Because these are both what's also kind of not helping me is these are both almost out of paint. And that's fine because I've already bought backups for them, but it's like I want to get as much paint out of these as possible. So that's also kind of messing with my ability to do what I'm trying to do. And I think for the sake of this, I'm actually going to mix a little bit of black into this dark brown. Because the dark brown ain't dark brown enough for my liking. And it does go with the fact that a lot of what Pro Acryl does is very bright. And it's very bold. But yeah, my hope is that I can start going there and playing more like actual Warhammer. And actually start enjoying the game, because it feels like even though I've been very much engaged with it for years now, to the point where I'm like watching Auspex Tactics talk strategy a lot, I'm not actually playing the game ever, so none of it means anything to me. Which both feels bad and doesn't, but I feel like it's an inherently social hobby, so why not inherently social about it? Hey, guess what? We've got a div shit here. So, we're going to go ahead and ban them. And then I'm going to click on their name. And I'm going to report them. For spam. Scam. And then I'm going to say advertising links for viewers, and then I'm gonna block them, and then they can eat a dick. Yeah, I do definitely like that there are parts of the game that don't require you to be social, because you can pretty easily not socialize and just paint if that's all you care to do. There's also like the tabletop RPGs that they've made. There's the smaller games. I appreciate how multifaceted Warhams is, and I do kind of really appreciate that it's trying to provide an adequate experience to a diverse audience. One of these days I'm going to misread one of these messages, and someone's going to be asking a legitimate question, and I'm going to like publicly shame them and look like a total jackass on the recorded thingy. But that's okay. Okay, so once again, all I'm really doing is blocking in these colors so that I can go back later with a metallic, because I don't feel like fighting metallics right now. So instead of fighting the metallics, I'm just going in with these placeholder dark colors. Which will hopefully be enough for me when I eventually do go back in to remember that, you know, some of this is supposed to be for gold and other is supposed to be for just the plain metals. Let's see if I can hit this without making a mess. It looks like the answer is yes. That's something for future Benry to worry about. You are absolutely correct, sir. Yeah, that's one of the problems with being nearsighted. I can't wear glasses while doing this, because the glasses would get in the way of my ability to look closely at things. So I don't wear my glasses, and that means whenever I look at chat, I've got to kind of squint and hope that I'm correct. Okay. Also, I mean, I was going to say, I have to say that if it wasn't for the fact that Asta basically did a perfect playthrough of Judgment, I would also play through Judgment. But I've got so many other things I'd like to play through that I really shouldn't even think about playing through Judgment. I am still tickled that I managed to go through, like, the entirety of the Yakuza catalog before she finished Lost Judgment. Though I get why, she is a considerably busier person than I am. And that was ugly. Though I am working my way through her Onstathon as I paint. And first of all, I can't believe how she structured that. I appreciate that she's doing something better for her health. But I think this is just going to be the year of the Onstathon. Because until she actively ends it, I don't actually think it's going to be able to end. And so, good for her for having that kind of success. But also, I do legitimately think it's going to go until 2027. And I think that's super cool. Okay, so I have no idea what color this is supposed to be. And because I have no idea what color it's supposed to be, it's going to be gold. They're just going to have a gold WWE Championship belt. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching her do different games and different things. I haven't gotten to Chilchuck's Inferno yet. I'm watching her play Minecraft, which in some ways has been kind of cathartic and fulfilling because I can't play Minecraft. It's against my religion. I'm lying. It's not. I can't play Minecraft because it moves too quickly and makes me violently ill. But yeah, are you watching the Hammer of Wrath videos? I don't think so. I might be. I don't know what those are. I might know what they are, but I feel like I would know immediately what they are if I knew them, like by name, right? If you would like to elaborate or explain what are the Hammer of Wrath videos, because you now have me intrigued. Instead, what I am doing is lying about how Minecraft cannot be played because of my religion, apparently. My religion that does not actually prevent me from playing Minecraft. But no, the ones I have been watching her play, I've basically watched. I haven't watched any of the Resident Evil ones because I kind of want to share that with my wife, with my partner. But I've watched her play through Pocopia. I've watched her play through parts of that weird adult or dating sim game that she and Karina are playing through. Which has provided endless amounts of mirth and joy. And I've watched her play through a couple of Pokemon-related things because Pokemon is cool, and it was not part of my life for a long time. And watching her play through Pokemon, specifically Lazarus, has made me want to play Pokemon. So I appreciate that she's reminded me of that joy in life as well. He's making a video once a month, and for a year did a challenge painting a combat patrol every month, during which he found the love for painting space wolves, has started collecting them since. No, I have not, but that's really cool, and kudos to them for, gosh dang it, what is going on with my nose? It constantly feels like there's a little hair that is just tickling my nose, like a stray cat hair or something. But yeah, I can't imagine trying to paint a combat patrol a month, I say, as I'm trying to paint that and a million other things in a week. Yeah, no, my Warhammer consumption has been actually very, very slim in terms of, like, watching content creators and painters, because I've mainly kept to the side of the hobby where I've just been looking up news about, or seeing news passively of the new game and the like, so I haven't really been keeping close eyes on any of that. But yeah, I almost thought, speaking of Combat Patrols, when Combat Patrol Month, I almost got that subscription from Hachette, I think they're called. I was really interested in that, but then I realized I would not have that money over the course of a year, so I didn't do it. left a link to the YouTube in general in case there's interest. Well, I greatly appreciate that because there's gonna be people who want to see, and that stuff is pretty neat. That seems like a cool project to take part of. I will say, one thing that is starting to drive me nuts about Games Workshop is, and I understand they're keeping it at a pretty fair clip right now, but I'm really worried about the fact that they're cycling out things like combat patrols and whatnot, what feels way too quickly. Though I think some of that just has to do with how not engaged with the game I am. So it feels like it's been a short period of time, when in actuality it's probably been a long period of time. And it's just like the combat patrols are the prime example of what I'm thinking of right now. Because my understanding is they're starting to cycle out combat patrols and kill teams. And it's just like, didn't these just come out? And I guess the answer is no, it's been multiple years. But at the same time, it's just like, part of the reason why I got into the game was because it had greater longevity than Magic the Gathering. And while things still aren't losing value at the same rate that they are with Magic, it does definitely... What the frick? It does definitely feel like you're spending a lot of money for something for a specific role, and it no longer falls under that role after what feels like too short a period of time. Though I think that's more me just complaining, because I like I said, I have not been very deep in the game of Warhams. I think I've played 3 total real matches of Warhammer, and then a bunch of casual matches with friends, some of which were in one-page rules. So I don't think I might be the right person to complain about these kind of things. And be worried about them, because I'm clearly not the target audience for a lot of what's going on there. Okay, so that's actually like a dark brown, and if that's a dark brown, feeling is valid and shared, okay. Well, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. But yeah, it just feels like they released a combat patrol, and I'm really excited about it, or whatever. And like the Imperial Fist combat patrol, they put rules out for that, and I was like, oh boy, I get a themed combat patrol for the chapter that I love that doesn't get a whole lot of attention normally. And the next thing I know, it's just like they don't exist. 11th edition ignores them? And it's like, okay, well, I guess that's a thing. Because, like, I wanted Combat Patrol to become more like Spearhead is with, or whatever it's called, with Age of Sigmar. And I was hoping that, you know, the Imperial Fist Combat Patrol I got could be used in that way. It's part of the reason why I didn't feel so bad that the paint scheme I made for them didn't quite turn out. But now it's just like, well, I guess I can't. And I guess it's like, whatever, man. I haven't played it yet, so... Does it really hurt all that much that they took away something I've yet to do? Because I guarantee you, I'll find other interesting and fun ways to play the Warhams. Just that one felt a little weird to me. Okay, let's see if I can hit this. Sorry, I'm focusing on trying not to make a mess of the rest of his leg as I paint the brown on this part of his leg. Okay. So once again, we are starting to reach a point with Mr. Grimnar where, because a lot of his stuff has been color blocked in, he now looks like absolutely fascinating. And so he's going to look really darn good when he finishes. And what I'm probably going to do to kind of create some unity with the leg bracings is I'm going to go ahead and hit those with a blue wash. And that way the silver metallics on them are going to come out to look more like blue. And that'll help. You were preparing for it, didn't even have a chance to try it out. Yeah, that's a reason to complain. You bought and painted it with that in mind. That is true. I did also do it because it had a bunch of units that I knew I was going to want. Like the Terminators and the Heavy Intercessors. And I will be completely honest, the consolation prize, and probably the reason why I'm not mad about it, is like, with the exception of the company heroes, every one of those units have a place in my bigger army. So it doesn't hurt too bad, which I guess is positive, but at the same time, it is one of those cases where it didn't have to hurt at all. But I suppose in Games Workshop's case, because they have to keep... I don't want to, like, suck up to the corporate company way too much, but they have to keep the bottom line churning, and so they can't just have products lingering, because then they've got to account for those products with every... Yes! with every rule change and every balance patch and blah 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 blah. And so it's just easier for them to like cycle through them. And it's like, okay, that's fair, I guess. I don't like it, but I can at least understand your reasoning. But then again, that's why shit like one-page rules exists. Because I can still use the entire army and the dudes I want in one-page rules. Okay. So I think that's the furthest I'm going to do for shading these guys, this leather. Because I don't really... GW has excuse, but they have no excuse. Yeah, I suppose so. Because I don't want to overshade the leather and make it look way too nice, because again, I really could be using that time to better paint or start painting some of the other units in this army, as opposed to spending a million years on Logan. So it's probably going to happen, because Logan looks fucking fantastic as is. Sorry, he's dancing. I think I'm going to set him aside, and anything else I'm going to do to him is going to be with metallics, because I've got to stop myself, otherwise I will get lost in the weeds, which has been a thing that's happened to me a lot with these character models, because they look so good. It makes me just want to like paint each individual bit to an incredibly high level, and I don't have the time to do that. I don't have the energy to do that. Though I do think, now that I noticed it on his back since I turned him around, I need to hit that leather strap that's holding all of his little ornaments. Yeah, and in all honesty, after I know it's kind of like not a great comparison, but after reading about all the shit that Wizards of the Coast is doing with Hasbro, it's like I'm not too mad at Games Workshop anymore. Like, I've basically become severely disinterested in Dungeons & Dragons proper because of the shit that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro have begun to pull. The fact that they're like, AI is going to become part of it, and AI is going to be great, and we should embrace AI. It's just like, man! And it makes me feel for, like, every one of the artists who poured their hearts and souls into working for the company. And just listening to, yeah, the CEO of Hasbro talk about how much he loves AI. There was a thing, I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about pitching a part in one of the new Halo games, I think it was. And they remembered distinctly, very passionately pitching it in front of the execs and waiting for their answer. And the execs were quiet, and then one of them turned to another executive, and he was like, you know that auction house? The one in Diablo 3? We should put that in the game. And then they all started agreeing, like, yeah, we should go ahead and do that. That made them a ton of money. That brought them a lot of player engagement. We should put an auction house in Halo. And it's just like, I don't like what modern like decision makers are doing with the entertainment that I like. And I guess the solution is, and I hate to say this because it sounds like it's flippant and dismissive, but like I also can't control that, so it's just like find new hobbies or find new ways to appreciate the parts of the hobby you enjoy, because the people that engage with that part of the hobby probably aren't people you want to engage with anyway. And it's just like, yeah. Okay. So I think, for the most part, with Mr. Grimnar, other than the fact that I went really ham on his face, like, all of the parts of him are at least detailed to a point that I would deem acceptable, right? And so I almost feel like I can go ahead and pop him off of this stick. Yeah, those they're not gamers. The Game Dev Wire, they're making game decisions because they have all the money, right? And that's dumb. But, I think he's far enough along that I would feel comfortable taking him off of the stick and putting him on the base. And I'm going to ask you if you think that's a good idea, given that, again, he's not supposed to be a display piece. Again, another banger-ass song from Yakuza Infinite, or Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. All of the music that Yamai had was absolutely killer, and his boss fights were some of my favorite songs in the entire ass game. Because, I mean, like, listen to this shit. This shit goes so hard. It's a little bit of that new electronic they're doing. It's, you know... It's got some of the koto in it to call back to the fact that he is a displaced Japanese gentleman living in Hawaii. It's just so good. And I remember when I first heard it, I was like, what the fuck is this? Why is it... It's very distinctly, like, weird. But then you found out who it's for, and you're like, oh, okay. I get it now. And the cape I want to touch up? Not really. I was thinking about that too. Like, I could get the vents, but no one's ever going to see them. And underneath the cape itself, I think the color looks good enough. So I think, yeah, I think it's time to go ahead and glue him onto his base. Because he's already far and above where I would consider to be, like, tabletop ready. And I'm actually pretty darn jazzed with how... There we go. With how the color on him turned out, because I was really worried when I did the blue that it was going to come across as really gray. Because when I first looked at it again, I was like, holy shit, this is the same color as they were on the sprue. I spent the last hour painting them to be the same color they were on the sprue. And that's clearly not the case, as you see me shaving this off so that the plastic cement will better bond. But, like, it really felt like I had wasted a ton of time painting these guys for them to only end up the same color. And I was like, oh man, these are going to be so dull and he's going to hate them. And I will admit, I do have a lot of anxiety. I'm very anxious about any job that I take on because I'm always worried. And I think part of that is what helps me be real good at this. But at the same time, it's just so, like, heart-wrenching to just be like, oh my god, I wasted all this time. This could have been used actually making the model look good. And the more I look at it with all the other complementary colors, I think it looks pretty darn blue. I think it looks good. I think I did a better job than I gave myself initial credit for. Because you can really see the blue now that it's contrasting with some of the other colors I put on this guy. And another thing that's fun, you can go over here, is that Tamiya thin cement's expensive, and this is not. This was $15, 15 US dollars for 250 milliliters, and Tamiya extra thin cement was like $6 for 40 milliliters. And from what I understand, the chemical balance of these is off by like 1%. So I filled this in here, and it works just as well as the plastic cement. So I have so much more. And it also cleaned the living crap out of my airbrush, because it like instantly dissolved the acrylic paint, because it actually acts to dissolve the plastic, since acrylic is plastic. So it does like triple duty. And it's really good at it. And you're saying that this was a joke you wanted to do, painting minis to look like they're bare plastic, but shading them so many colors they would have to be tournament legal, then painting tanks to look like cardboard? That would be amazing. That would be very funny, and I encourage you to do that. It's like those people who are making like sprue crons and shit. Like, why not? Have fun with it. It's your hobby. You doing anything illegal? No? Then let them do it. Okay. Yeah, see, like, that looks freaking incredible. I'm really happy with that. I'm happy with how the color came out. I'm happy with how the dude looks. He's got a piece of plastic shaving on him. I am going to do some more highlights, but they're going to be, like, simple dry brush highlights. And I'm going to obviously paint over the metallics where I painted a lot of the black, and then shade it with a wash. Use Tamiya extra thin to clean your synthetic brushes. They dissolve the accumulated paint in the ferrules. That's a really good idea, and I was thinking of doing that. The one thing I am going to do is hit all of these guys with a very thinned down, oh, you can't see that, a very thinned down brown, to again kind of knock them back down to a more neutral color. But yeah, like, I mean, the model itself just looks good, but I think I did a good enough job focusing on the parts of him that are going to be cool that no one's going to care. Because I am going to zhuzh up the axe a lot, and his face looks amazing, so yeah, he's going to look really good. And now that he's on this, I can finally not have to worry about this shit anymore. Okay, so he's going to go over in the corner. Ow, he bit me! My god. The shawl bit me. What time is it? It's 8:53. What else can I do while I'm vibing? I don't want to put that kind of effort into any more of these guys, but I think oh my god, Dark Vault, I think I might have an actual problem I think I forgot how to paint these models to a lower level of detail. Like, I don't think I know how to paint the models like how I used to paint the models. You know what I mean? Like when I first started painting and you learn to do like a base coat, then a wash, then a highlight or a dry brush, I don't know if I remember how to do that. Like, I think I might have broke something. And that's not meant to be like a humble brag either. I legitimately don't think I remember how to do that because I've gotten so into the weeds about like shading and layering and blending. I suppose I'll have to find out. Because if you noticed, even when I was doing like chunky blends, chunky base coats, I definitely wasn't, I don't know. Maybe doing assembly line would help with that? I suppose so, but the last assembly... the last assembly line models I did... Here, give me a second. In this style... Let me see if I can find them. It's been a minute. Were they in here? I'm sorry, this is gonna take... Yeah, the last assembly line models I did... like really assembly line, they ended up looking like this. So like, I'm not sure if I can do that again. Because it's just like the urge, the compulsion to paint, I don't want to say to paint them well, but like, there are parts of them that I can't just leave because it doesn't look right. But I mean like, this is such a... Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I just gotta fight the urge because it's become such a huge part of my workflow. Trust the process, I guess. Because like, yeah, let me see. Is this one of the guys? Yeah, like look at this guy. Look at how pure he is. He's perfect. I don't even think I dry brushed it. He's also covered in dust and hair. That's what he gets for being an opener. But I mean, like, I'm pretty sure this guy was just... I base coated him and then I slapped a ton of Agrax Earthshade on him. But look at how good he still looks. I think what I'm probably gonna do is, like you said, I'm just gonna, like, force myself to go through them one color at a time. So, like, if I paint their hair or something, and then... Or, like, their shoulder pads, and then go back later to the ones I really care about. I love the Tactical Marines, dude. I'm so pissed that these aren't the main dudes anymore. This guy is perfect. Like, I really... And, like, look at this guy. This is one of the first models I painted. But again, he looks perfect. He's beautiful. Yeah, I want to collect Horus Heresy as well, but it actually is just how squat they are. I love how squat they are. They look like little gremlins. It's perfection. I love it. I actually do have some of the Horus Heresy Marines. And like you just said, they are some of my favorite. Like, look at this guy. This guy looks good. This guy was airbrushed. But he still looks pretty darn good. I actually do love this model. I love the walking. I love that. I do want to get into Horus Heresy. That's another one of the ones that I want to get into. That's my plan. I want to get into second-hand Old Hammer and get like a Firstborn army. I think I've talked about this before. I want to get like a full Firstborn army. I want to get like an old school Dreadnought. I want to get a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, what's kind of been my my savior, quote unquote, when it comes to speed painting these guys has legitimately been speed painting. It's been forcing myself to use the speed paints and then touch them up. That's what's really been helping me kind of regulate myself so I don't go way too ham into the details and the like. So, I don't know. Maybe I will be able to do it again. I'm going to have to learn real quick, otherwise I'm not going to finish this. Still waiting for an old school metal venerable dreadnought. Do you have one on order, or are you waiting for one to get in stock? I do love the old meme that you could put him in a sock and he becomes an actual bludgeoning weapon because of how heavy the damn thing was. And I do agree with you. I would love to own one of those as well because they are super cool. The old school dreadnoughts are some of my favorite models in the entirety of the 40k line. Okay. And yeah, I don't know what else I want to work on, so I'm working on Commissar Graves, because Commissar Graves makes me happy. She's an intense, crazy lady with a big-ass sword and even bigger fists, so it's just like, yep, this is what I want to... On the online secondhand Warhammer store you have access to when you can use PayPal on. That is fair, and that is true. That's something else that the store I'm going to now does. They will let you trade in models for store credit, and then they sell those models. So I have been kind of browsing on their shelves and being like, I think I want that. Because they do get some cool stuff in there. So I do kind of wonder how long that's going to be able to last for them, and at what point are they going to get overwhelmed with stock? Because that does worry me. It's just like, you've got a great thing going, so is this going to be a case where people end up taking advantage of it and kind of ruining your ability to do these things? But the other thing to think about is they've got like 2/3 of a car dealership they're not using. So there's a lot of free space for them to store stuff. I want them to succeed, and it just makes me happy knowing that they're doing pretty okay right now. Oh my goodness, Commissar Graves, why are you so cool? Okay. Okie dokie. Now here's where I struggle with painting faces. Painting faces is all about like finding the highlights, and especially on the smaller faces, the smaller humanoid ones, I can't claim to be very good about painting the highlights because I can't find the highlights because their faces are too small. Now, something I did think was kind of cool is that Bjorn the Bjorn the Fellhand that I painted, he was a Space Wolves Venerable Dreadnought, and they gave me the options to paint him as such. I could apparently make him, well, not paint him, but assemble him as a Venerable Dreadnought for the Space Wolves. I could have done so as Murderfang. I could have done so as Bjorn. When I first put him together, I accidentally gave him the standard Venerable Dreadnoughts claws. And then I realized that the things that I was looking at on the sprue that were considerably more elaborate were Bjorn the Fellhanded's power claw. And it was just like, well, now I've got to figure out how to get these things off of him. Though admittedly, pretty glad I did, because the Bjorn the Fellhanded one looks really good. Yeah, I still have all the extra sprues and bits, so I don't have them for long because I'm giving them back to the owner because he wants them back, but it's just like, there's so much variety and so many choices to make. And it does kind of irk me that Games Workshop has moved away from that, but I guess for the more dynamically posed models, they kind of have to. I can't imagine what the production costs are like for them. I have no idea what these guys are saying, but I definitely dig their enthusiasm. Okay. Unfortunately, I have made her very gaunt. Like, as I'm looking really close at her, she's definitely got some issues going on with her face, and it's mainly because the discoloration is so bad. And this goes back to my lack of knowledge of how to paint proper skin. Okay, let's see what I can do here. Because, yeah, unlike a lot of the male faces with the really sharp cheekbones, that is true. But yeah, with all the male faces that have the really sharp cheekbones, hers are very soft, and so I'm not getting that same kind of separation that I get with, like, painting a lot of the men's faces. So what ended up happening is I accidentally kind of gave her a Glasgow smile. And admittedly, that's real terrifying. Thank you. Yeah, no, once again, it's the air pressure. It's raining again in the area, and every time it rains, my sinuses freak out and start causing me all sorts of, like, head pressure and congestion. So I'm thankfully not sick, because luckily I have not gotten sick a whole lot this year. My biggest issue has just been when the temperature changes from really friggin' hot to really friggin' rainy. I lose a lot of that composure, and then my tonsil, or not my tonsils, my sinuses just expand to the point where they act like they're severely congested. And then I struggle with the breathing and all that other fun stuff, which is kind of what's happening now. And that's normally what actually stops me from streaming, because it's just like, I don't want to sound like this on stream. I don't want to be sniffling and smirking and just sounding gross and nasally the entire time. So I have actively not streamed because of how bad it is. Because the last thing I want to do is, like, sniffle into the camera wetly all for 2 hours. I don't think that sounds super appealing at all. And what I probably ought to just do is just do, like, a mute stream, which I've thought of doing. But, like, the last time I thought of doing a mute stream, I think it was so bad that I kept having to blow my nose every few minutes. And that's also not appealing. And I've already been to, like, a ton of doctors about it, and yeah, they're just like, yeah, it's barometric pressure, can't do much about that. So this is just something I get to deal with, and I hope that eventually I don't pass it on to my kids. Because the last thing I need is for them to have, like, absolute physical meltdowns because it's raining. Something else that I need to think about when doing stuff like this is that the details on her are so small that it doesn't really matter. She's going to look fine because her head is literally like half the size of my pinky nail. So the things that I'm obsessing over this close up, no one is ever going to notice. I'm not submitting her for a golden demon. So why would it matter how well her face is shaped by my paint job? Though I do suppose, in a lot of ways, a big reason why I get so uptight about it is because I eventually do want to enter Golden Demon, and the way that I feel like I can train for that stuff is by painting my own stuff to the highest standard possible. It is not Friday Night, but it's fine, because it's a good song. At least that's my take on it, is like, I know that I don't need to paint them to an extremely high level of detail, but I want to, specifically because it's all practice for when I have to. At least that's the way that I'm choosing to look at it. So she's definitely going to get, you know, non-metallic metal, this, that, and the other. Though the rest of the guys on her truck are definitely not. I am not going to bother giving all of them that ultra intense, like, super well done skin and everything. I'm probably actually going to speed paint them. Because, with the exception of the guy with the binoculars, I'm pretty sure they all have helmets on anyway. And since I've got them essentially immaculately shaded, I don't really see a need to give them a whole lot of detail. I feel bad because I think I advertised Space Wolves on these, and this is definitely not Space Wolves. I will say that's something else I didn't really understand, and maybe it's because I haven't thought about it well enough. But the whole thing in the Space Wolf book, there are no wolves in Fenris. It's like I didn't get that, and that was Dan Abnett being Dan Abnett. But I know that there was something behind there that he was trying to tell everyone, and I feel like I was just too dumb to get it. So, I don't know. I might have to have that explained to me, or I might have to look it up again and see exactly what he meant when he was saying there are no wolves on Fenris and kept repeating it, and the main character finally understood it near the end, and all this other stuff, and it's just like, that completely bounced off me. My brain was too smooth that day. Okay. I will say this is another strangely hyped song that they made for Yakuza. This was supposed to be like one of the penultimate battles in the like where Kiryu and his friends stormed Tokyo Tower or Millennium Tower. And I just remember I didn't know this song existed, so when it started playing right before you fought your way up a tower, I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm hype. This was another good one. Okay. I think the next thing would be to hit her eyes, and I'm actually going to hit her eyes, so... I don't like using white for the eyes. I've heard, like, humans don't actually have naturally white eyes. There's usually some color behind it, so what I tend to do is I tend to use the ivory for it. Now let's hope I can do this without screwing this up. Okay, apparently the answer is I will not screw this up, because it looks really good. She has eyes. And now time to highlight her skin on her hand. And then it's time for me to repeat this on the Mini on the truck. Because the Mini that has her with her sword out as she, like, beckons the truck forward is waiting on a stick, so I get to go ahead and try this again. And hope that everything turns out okay. Now, I think I've asked this question before, Dark Volt, but are there any minis that I could get that you would be interested in seeing me paint? Like, especially because soon I'm going to have a little bit more flexible spending. Is there anything that you would, like, think, that'd be cool if Ben Repaints tried to paint this model? I'm curious how Ben Repaints would do it. Two meanings. One, the planet of Fenris has no native wolves. All the wolves there are reported from other worlds to be used as hunting animals and warriors. Isn't that right? Second interpretation is the space wolves are not actually called space wolves. That's a nickname given to them that they loathe. The chapter that was actually wolves were the Lerna wolves, Horus's chapter. See, that makes sense. Because, yeah, they were the Vilca Fenrica. That's what they consistently called themselves in that book. So I guess them constantly saying there are no wolves in Fenris was to try and tell people who kept calling them that that's not their name. So yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you for that. Uh-oh, there we go. That makes total sense. I dig that explanation because it makes total sense on both a practical and a philosophical level. Can I also say, I appreciate the work that, even if the book wasn't the greatest, I appreciate the work that Dan Abnett did to make them a more fascinating culture than just wolf, 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 wolf. Yeah, there are no wolves can mean there are no traitors. That's right, because in historical context and in literary context, you typically referred to people who are wolves as people who are ferocious and out for themselves, I believe. And so by saying there are no wolves in Fenris, they mean to say that they are all loyal, they are all faithful. And that does make a lot of sense, because I know there's also that whole thing about them not being dogs either. I know, like, the the World Eaters, Angron hated that being called like attack dogs. Yeah, the entire Horus Heresy, the Sons of Horus, the Lunar Wolves. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Okay, that's kind of what I really like about the Horus Heresy and the books written for that, is that when they decide to have more literary depth than just let's do another prequel to the Siege, they can have a lot of fun with it, and you see the authors really trying to squeeze as much out of that stone as they can to make something that could be considered captivating literature, you know? Like, obviously it's not going to win any awards for it, but at the same time, they're going to try their best to make it something that is interesting on a level beyond Space Marine with big guns. And I do really appreciate that about them. Because that was one thing I read a lot of when I was first getting into 40k, or before I got into 40k, was people saying, like, the books are really good. And I don't know when that started. Because I do know that, like, Dan Abnett and Gaunt's Ghosts and Eisenhorn gave the 40k universe a lot more legitimacy as for being like legitimate pieces of work, as opposed to just, you know, overindulgent teenagers creating ultra-violent fighty stuff, right? That was very poorly conceived, but you understood what I mean. And so I have no idea when they actually started trying to lean more into the literary bit, but I definitely appreciate them for doing so, because it makes the world so much more interesting, at least to me. And probably to a lot of people, considering how often they will also discuss and argue about it. Okay. But yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure I asked the question before. I have since forgotten the answer. But are there like any minis of interest that you would want me to paint on stream? Okay, let's see if I can get in there without ruining it, because we can't leave that in that crimson or that dark magenta. I think I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure you've answered this before, but it's been a minute. And I haven't financially been in a position where I can kind of just get something. But now that I'm starting to get to a point where that's not the case, I think it would be cool to just, you know, every month or so buy a mini that Stream is interested in me painting, and painting it up to the best of my ability. Because it would be like a challenge. It would open me up to encourage me to get models that I wouldn't ordinarily get. I would get to learn new techniques, get to paint something I normally wouldn't paint, all that fun stuff. I'd probably limit it, because I'm not going to be like, okay, I guess I'm buying a Baneblade this week. That might actually break me. I'm thinking more like a character model or a specific unit, or, you know, something around $60 to $70. That could be like the special guy for the week for me to try and paint. And do as darn good a job as possible. No Stompa, Fellblade, or Thunderhawk, unfortunately. Now, if you were to say like a Squigosaur, maybe. I think with those ones, it's just that it would take me too long. Because like I said, I'm going to be in a position where pretty much all of the money I'm making from my commissions can go back into the hobby. And if that's the case, I'm going to have a lot more discretionary money. But at the same time, it's just more of a scope thing. I don't think I could do that in a month. Especially if I'm continuing to take commissions for funsies and paint my own stuff, you know? Aeronautica, PDF, or Legio Imperial Scared could. Well, yeah. That's definitely a thing that could happen. Man, none of those words came out as actual words, but I'm happy you understood what I was talking about. Yeah, Aeronautica or Legio Imperialis could work, or doing something like epic scale, anything. Those are all things that could potentially work. It's more a matter of, like, at this point, time, budget. Though painting some Legiones Imperialis would be pretty cool. Oh, epic scale Warlord Titan's about the size of a Dreadnought, so you could work if you got one on discount. I think I actually have an epic scale Warlord Titan STL. So if I really wanted to get squirrely, I suppose I could 3D print one and try and paint that up. I mean, I guess something that's also not helping with the decision making here is that because of another user, I have painted quite a few Dark Angels units. Well, no, I painted 2 Dark Angels units, haven't I? I painted Azrael, and I painted the Lion. But beyond that, I haven't painted any of those. I guess I painted, oh my gosh, I forgot his name, the Terminator Captain. I painted him. Yeah, I painted the Lion twice, that is true. He's still sitting somewhere. I think he's in a drawer. I can't remember the name of the Terminator Captain, but I painted him and turned him into an Imperial Fist. So there's also that. I did paint Azrael that one time. Though what's really funny is I don't think that person is playing Dark Angels anymore. I think they actually want me to paint up the Armageddon box. Belial, that's it, thank you. The Armageddon box to be Ultramarines. I think they're interested in moving to Ultramarines. Which, you know, that's their decision. Okay. A little bit of extra highlight here to put some of that up, and then I'll go ahead and do her eyes, and then the flesh will be done. I will say something that does really impress me with the heavy metal team is, like, I know they get a lot of crap for painting women faces, but some of the detail they're able to get out of these faces with how smooth the details are and the sculpts are, that does impress the shit out of me. Like, their Commissar Graves looks phenomenal. I can't say the same about mine right now. I feel the official GFs just have to paint the Armageddon Marines Ultramarines. Yeah, I hate that. But no, they just want to do this for their own army. They also had me paint Titus and his retinue, as well as 6 Victrix Honor Guard, because they want to play that in their army. Which, good for them, I guess. Because that's going to be absolutely murderous, so I hope they have fun, you know, chewing through pretty much anything that isn't Custodes. But I can just see, like, their Lionel Johnson on their shelf next to their Azrael, and just watching him sniffle just a bit. Speaking of, I need to get to work painting the Eradicators with the heavy bolters that came to that, because I have them as part of one of my armies too. I don't know if they're going to be any good. Probably not, but I don't care. They're cool. I like heavy bolters. I like Gravis. Okay, and I don't even know if this is color matching well to how fair I got her face with the other one. Okay, get that. I can kind of see the apple of her cheek right there. Oh, back to sleep, the lion steps back to the mist. That's probably what it feels like. Actually, I got that pretty darn good. Holy crap. Okay. Time to paint her eyes, I guess. From what I've heard, he has yet to be given very good rules. And that kind of makes me sad because the actual model is one of the has like some of the best aura in the entire game. Like, I really like the Lionel Johnson model, which I think I've gushed about plenty to you, but I just think, like, his pose, his look, he's just a darn good model. And I think that's why I was so hell-bent on finding a copy of him and painting him. Oh boy, here we go, folks. See how badly Henry screws this up. Oh, Ben repaints. No. Ben repaints. Why? Okay, you didn't screw it up that badly. The eyes are a little bit manky, but that's fine. Let's see, can I hit this one? Actually, not that bad, Ben repaints. Okay, let me go ahead and fix the nose right there, just a smidgen. But yeah, like, I can chalk this up to my own inexperience, but, like, you really can't tell that this is supposed to be a woman. They just kind of look like a very clean-shaven dude because of how muddy all their facial features are. So I guess that's on me to start learning how to better paint a woman's face with some of the softer features and what to accentuate, which I guess is fine. That's okay. Clean-shaven baby face. Yep. I mean, if you look at it, it very much is so. But that's okay. I still love the model. I love the commissar look. I love the furred shoulders. I love everything about that. But it's also like 9:24. I've been going for a little over 2 hours. So I think it's time for me to finish. Oh my goodness, Trophy's playing Mecha Chameleon. We got a Fox's Face Midnight Sumo. I am honestly surprised we don't have any, or we don't have, or are they at Gen Con? They might be at Gen... When is Gen Con? Lotus K. That's the name I'm looking for. Thursday, July 30th. No, okay, Gen Con's not for another week. Oh man, I don't have the money for that. Okay. The heavy metal team does not really sell the ideas. I guess so. I just feel like in the actual model, I think they do a better job, but that's fine. They're also paid a lot, or they're also highly trained professionals, and I am a moderately trained professional. We'll go ahead and call it that. But yeah, so the fun fact for me with this is that, actually, you know what? Let me stop being mean to myself. You can kind of see it. Oh my goodness, they gave her a really fat lower lip. Here, no, check this out. 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 Look at how hefty they made her lower lip in this picture. And I think that's part of what it is, too, is they've got a little bit of, like, brush and shadow happening. And I definitely made the upper lip way too heavy on her. And I left kind of the Glasgow smile shadow under there. And so that's kind of messing with it. But, let's see if I can actually get rid of that. There we go. See, didn't hurt anyone. Looks fantastic. A+. You do a great job, but to confirm she's a lady. I guess that is true. I don't know. I think I looked at, like, the fact that she had really soft features, because the way they hyper-exaggerate their men, you know what I mean? Where they have, like, super angular cheeks and just... I'm actually going to go ahead and give her lower lip a little bit of magenta. I'm painting and I don't... Okay, let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. Okay. Because I've decided I'm going to give her lower lip just a little bit of color to kind of give it some. And unfortunately in doing so, I think I might have overstained it a bit. Okay. Just a little bit. Not a lot. Because it looks like her upper lip is also... Actually, that doesn't quite do it, but... Okay. Okay, let's play a little bit with this, because I think I'm onto something. I think giving her the lips helped, and I don't want to make this like a rouge, because I don't want it to be that deep, but I do want to... I think that might have done it. I think I might need to thin it out just a smidgen, because now her lower lip is ultra pouty. That's better. There we go. That looks a little more natural. Green stuff, some hair strands to poke out of the hair, flow a bit back. I think, yeah, I mean, that would definitely help because it would read more clearly feminine. I think giving her a little bit of magenta lipstick actually helped. Like, I also cleaned up a little bit of the mouth and the area around the mouth. I think that actually looks pretty good. Now, I'm really scared to do the other one where she's screaming because I don't know where the actual lip begins, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, so we're just going to do a little bit of this. I don't want it to come across as though she's wearing, like, deep red lipstick. Good old makeup techniques. I don't know shit about makeup. That was pure luck. I saw them do that to her lower lip, where they made it, like, really pouty and flush, and I was like, why don't I try that with that? Why don't I try that? And I did, and it turned out okay. Okay. That is another game series. I've talked about it before, but I would kind of like to stream Yakuza. But yeah, like, I'm really afraid to mess with this stuff now because, like, her upper lip is so thinly defined. I don't know how I can do this without making it look really bad. Yes, that is actually what's going to happen. I'm going to, like, go to QB and be like, hey, QB, I hecked this up. How do I fix it? And she's going to look at it and try not to laugh because she's really nice to me. And then give me good advice on how to fix the issue. So I think that's going to have to be the plan. I think part of the problem, she's also going to remind me that the way they sculpt this woman's mouth is very intensely strange. Because her mouth is very oddly sculpted. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to try and hit it as best I can and cover it up. That way, when QB looks at it, she won't wonder what's wrong with me. Okay, so this time I overdid it. Now to underdo it. I think that'll do it. And then just a little bit more of the highlight because... And see, this is me getting lost in the weeds again. And QB's probably going to say the same thing, that they very much did a poor job selling that this is in fact a feminine character. So that's probably not going to help. Okay. Yeah, that mouth is strange. It's got like a Sylvester Stallone howl going on. I don't know how I'm going to get the makeup on there, or the lipstick on there. I think I did a better job on the other one. But that's fine. Okay, it's 9:31. I gotta stop. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me this evening. Give me a second. Let's see who we can raid. Do you have any idea who we can raid? That's a Gundam. Tombstone painting? We could do that. Let's see. Well, first, I'm gonna refresh my Twitch. I don't have a whole lot of people I follow on Twitch. So, I'm not sure who I want to do there. Just make sure the face is going to be safe. I want to paint the surrounding area like the pelt, scarf, and the hat. Yeah, that's probably a good idea, and that's probably what I'm going to hit next. Wait, Frankie Pixel Show's doing Look Outside. This isn't Look Outside, this is Parmesan Stuffed Crust Pizza. And Domino's can eat it because they have failed to deliver me the proper menu quite a few times. So, I think what I'm going to do, just for kicks and giggles because I follow them, is I'm going to go ahead and raid Frankie Pixel Show. They are the creator of Look Outside, and they're doing update stuff on there. So, I kind of need to get going. So, I think I'm going to do that, and hopefully, maybe be back later this week. Maybe not, who knows. But either way, thank you for joining me, guys. Let's /raid. Frankie Pixel Show. There we go. And I suppose I will see you guys later. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you had a good time. I appreciate the conversation and the chatting. And I will see y'all later. Bye-bye. Yeah, that would be awesome. I hope you do too. Later, man.